and be wholesome.
Wholesome? Why did you point to Cody, the guy who gets the least amount of action here? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we review the first volume of a brand new manga each week. My name is Josh Dimple Michaels, and today, as always, I am joined by
Megan. Tomoe-chan. Perrine.
Cody Mob Decker.
Okay.
Very simple, because that is a nickname.
Dang, I had a black...
But you're named Mob because you are violent.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were going the direction of the reason his nickname is itself an insult.
No,
so
I like Mob too much to compare you to him.
Oh. I had a black wig, but it wasn't a bowl cut, so I just didn't think to bring it for Cody, because it just wouldn't have...
We'll just, Photoshop the rest of your hair out.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
The bowl cut would be really good.
It'd be really fun, yeah.
Should I do it?
Do it. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Volume 1 of Mob Psycho 100, and not just Volume 1. We're going to use this bonus episode as an experiment to kind of dip more into the anime, specifically Season 1, just because of how amazing it is, and we all experienced it at different points in our life, but Megan just watched all of it in its entirety, Season 1 and Season 2 recently, so it's fresh in her mind, fresh in her heart.
Yes.
And so what better time to talk about it than now? I rewatched some of these episodes to prepare for this episode, and I fell in love all over again. I saw it probably about 2 years ago, but having seen it as of recording this last night, I'm just hooked all over again. I can't believe I forgot how amazing this anime and this story is.
Yeah, I can't stop gushing about it ever since I watched it. Because everyone, when you have that anime that's super hype and everyone's like, watch it, it's so good. And you guys were like, you haven't watched it? I'm like, no. I just never got around to it, or I don't know. But then I just watched it. I was like, oh, that's why everyone likes this series, because it's fucking amazing.
This is my favorite anime of all time. If I watch one episode, I have to watch the whole season. If I watch one season, I have to watch the second season. I will watch the OPs on a loop, 1, 2, then I'll go back to 1, then I'll go back to 2. And I watch this series every couple months.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude.
And I watch the live action. I love this so much that I enjoy the live action series.
Okay, I'm going to say that I tried, because it's on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Very easy to obtain. I watched 2 episodes and I was like, I don't know if I necessarily have to watch this. I didn't fall in love immediately.
I just saw the trailer and my first thought was absolutely not.
Reagan is the highlight of the live action one. I think he's doing the acting version of what the animation is doing for him in the anime.
Yeah.
And then he gets a lot more character moments, some of which you get a little bit of in Season 2.
Yeah, I mean, Season 2 is, I think, equally as good, if not better in some parts, especially from an animation standpoint, than Season 1. But as far as spinoffs go, what I really would like to check out is the Reagan spinoff series.
Me too! Yeah. I literally wrote that down because I was looking up the mangaka one.
Yeah.
Dope.
Who did One Punch Man.
One Punch Man, of course.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, he wrote a Reagan spinoff. That's my favorite.
Which I have my own opinion, but I want to know what you guys, because obviously you guys watched One Punch Man as well, but what makes, because I think Mob Psycho is leaps and bounds better than One Punch Man. And One Punch Man is great.
Yeah.
But I think Mob Psycho across the board is better. I know why I feel that way, but do you guys agree and feel similarly?
Totally.
Yeah, there's similar themes, but I think this goes more into the theme, the relatability of it more. This is the only anime we had in common when we first started doing this podcast. All we knew is we both like this series.
Yeah.
And it's One Punch Man is someone wanting to achieve a goal and then not being happy with it. And then this is about someone who is inherently good at something, but that doesn't fulfill them in life.
Well, I think the theme here is you always have to work on yourself as a person instead of relying on just talent or just
something
gifts.
That's given
you have to, it's important to be a good person first and then, use those gifts or whatever to benefit people if you want, but it shouldn't be about just being inherently gifted and letting that just be an excuse for you being an asshole. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it just has so much more heart. Like
way more heart.
Way more heart. I feel so much for the characters. Like from episode 1, you know who they are. You know what the story's about. You know what their goals are and motivations, and it lays it all out there for you. And then you just have to consume it and just be like, "This, I love these. I love these guys."
I know, and we are going to talk about Volume 1, and then we're going to branch off, like I said, into the first season of the anime too. But even in Volume 1, we don't even get to see a lot of these like really important characters yet. We see Reagan, we see Mob. And of course, we see Dimple towards the end. But like some other really important characters, like we don't get to see Hanazawa, who's like one of my favorite characters with the hair. We don't get to see Sho, obviously the red-haired kid from the Esper, organization.
Yeah.
We barely get to see Ritsu in the first volume too. And I want to talk about like what I connected with so much when I saw this series the first time in. You give me anything that has like a brotherly relationship in it, and because of my relationship with my brother, like I'm a sucker for it. And I got like, it's the closest I've been to crying in a long time. I got really emotional. Yeah, dude. I mean,
wow, Josh almost cried.
I mean, just anything like that, man. It just like it hits me on a different level, I think. What was it specifically about it especially having just watched it and watching it every once a week? What was it like?
Twice every 2 months I watched.
That's still a crazy amount.
I do. I go on and I'm like, what am I going to watch? And it's just Mob Psycho.
What was it specifically that like really connected you to the story?
It was just the like relationships between the characters, and like I'm a sucker for stupid hijinks, and Reagan is the perfect character to like just literally like he's the root of the story. I feel like Mob, of course, but because if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have Mob doing all these things that he's supposed to be doing. Yeah. And I like this little secret that he has, and I just think it's so funny and so much fun to watch. Of course, the animation is fucking awesome, but it's so cute.
Level.
It's so wholesome. Like it's everything that I want. And like I don't know if would you classify this as like shonen? Would this be like a shonen?
I think it is sort of like it dips into being a shonen when it needs to be, but it's also like it's not a shonen because it's aware of itself, and it's sort of an anti-shonen in a lot of ways, or not anti-shonen necessarily, but it dips its toe in the shonen genre, but it doesn't stay there for very long.
Yeah, it's not like as much of an anti-shonen as something like Chainsaw Man, right. But it is like he's becoming stronger, but like on a personal level, not with his great power. Because if he was like, I need to get even stronger with my psychic abilities, then it would be a pretty standard shonen.
Yeah.
But he specifically tries to avoid using them as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, and I think especially in season 1, the only time that it really kind of dips into that genre is when he's having that fight with Hanazawa. When they're like going back and forth and
barely going back and forth until the end.
It's mainly
just him.
It's mostly fourth and then a little bit of back at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of the art style and the animation, I mean, we got to go back to the manga and just talk about the art style in here. I mean, it's so... First of all, Mob is also one of the funniest series I've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time, I have a very vivid memory of the first time I ever even touched this series was in a Barnes & Noble, picked it up, had no idea it was from the same mangaka of One Punch Man at the time because I just randomly had decided to look at it. And within the first couple pages, the first joke with Reagan and the woman who's trying to get him to exercise the face joke. Immediately, I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever read.
It's totally, I mean, the anime did such a good job because usually when you see a manga adapted into an anime, you're like, oh, it's either going to be worse or completely go in a different direction. But they kept the same feel, but yet made it like 100,000 times percent 100% better.
Yeah, it's wild seeing that. Like that's what they started with. Like the animation absolutely makes it better.
It's insane.
This is not something where you'll read something like, oh, they kind of messed up the fight there. But if you read this and you see what they did with that in the animation, you're like, so like, was he just sort of like, this will be animated? And, like,
well, the crazy thing is that like One Punch Man, he drew the original manga webcomic at the time, and then it became so popular and became such a fan favorite that a professional mangaka redrew the manga, and then the anime was based on the redrawn manga. But with Mob Psycho, there is no in-between redrawn manga, so the animation studio, Studio Bone, really just had to do the best they could. And you know what? They did an amazing job, but they also like kind of stayed faithful to his art style.
They really did, and they just tweaked it a little bit, and the feel's still there. The music is amazing. This whole soundtrack is awesome with all the scenes. It captures the heart, and Mob like translated into that character, like the voice actors. I only watched the sub, I didn't watch the dub, but it's so perfect. Like it's so perfect.
Yeah.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
I can't gush more about it. Like if you haven't watched it, please.
And I will say too that, back to the art style real quick, it's kind of inspiring because it's a series that first of all, it's the perfect thing to happen to a series, I think. To have it, be so widely, loved by so many people, and then to be turned into an amazing anime that sort of elevates the source material.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were just talking about in a previous episode, like not super faithful adaptations to source material, but this is just like a win in every category. But it's also kind of like the art is charming and adds to the humor, and it does kind of remind me of like a almost like an Adult Swim, like Super Jail-ish kind of like cartoon style.
But this is actually funny.
But this is actually funny, yes.
Which is what because I was like fresh off of season 1 of One Punch Man, and I was like, I need more of this.
Yeah.
Oh, this will probably be it'll be like a psychic version of one. It'll be funny.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, and then when it starts hitting like very dramatic moments, it like really caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as someone who like draws and wants to one day be able to like either write and draw my own series, like when I first read this, like I was very inspired because the art it's not like crazy good. There's not a lot of detail. It's very kind of crudely drawn, but it adds to the story, and it's done in a very like charming way. I mean, he's still getting like the poses and everything, and it's very dynamic.
Yeah,
but it inspires me. Like it makes me feel like I can do it, even though I mean, One is an amazing writer.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, and it just heightens the humor in it, and it's just it's so funny, and you could see like even from the cover, like amazing.
Yeah,
the cover's awesome. Even in like the fight scene with Dimple that we see later too, like that splash page of all the people in the air and stuff. Like there's moments where I'm like, oh okay, like okay, like because it's all just kind of crude, and in those moments I'm like, okay, it's I wouldn't say decent, but it's like a little more detailed in those moments. So I'm like, this is fine. This is great.
And you can tell, I mean, obviously they know what they're doing. There's some, like you said, panels where it's just the shading is super dynamic. Everything.
Yeah.
Like I said, the poses are dynamic. But anyway, I mean, there's a million reasons to love this. How do you guys want to do it? You guys want to just like power through volume 1?
I just thought we were going to talk about the anime.
I mean, we could just talk about the anime because, especially since you just saw
I just watched I literally watched season 1 in one sitting. I watched season 2 the next day in one sitting. Then I watched the OVAs, and then I watched like I think it's called Mini, which is just a recap of season 1. I don't know why I watched that, but I did.
I mean, you were in Cody's boat where you're just like, I need more. I'll take anything.
Yeah, it was. And like when I'm really into an anime, I look up like cosplay skits on YouTube from like anime conventions of people cosplaying and doing like that's like it's everything. I'm like, oh, more content. And I just like that's I can't.
I rewatched season 2 last night, and the live action is like it with what season 2 does with Reagan. The live action kind of dips more into that, where you get like there's like a scene of him at a bar that I'm like, oh, that's very emotional, and he gets like a really nice in-depth like background scene that's not out of place for what could be in the anime or manga.
Well, who's your favorite characters?
Mob.
Reagan for sure.
Reagan for sure. I mean, I love Mob.
Reagan 100,000%.
A
Mob Psycho 100%.
Yeah.
God damn. Yeah. We both were gonna do the joke from.
Yeah, I had to rearrange some words in my head.
He's so hilarious, and he's so smart yet so dumb, and he's just like the perfect. Like he won't double down on anything. He's like, no, this is real, and he just lies. And
so he will double down on everything.
Oh,
yeah, he will double down
on everything.
And he's also just like a
yes.
He's also a con artist. But again, back to the humor, like something as simple as him like photoshopping ghosts out of photos or
Yeah.
or
His special
being,
moves.
Yeah, or being really good at giving
Every
massages.
time they do, oh, this is Reagan's special move. It's still,
Yeah.
and he just like punches someone.
I love it.
With
and
salt in his hand.
Yeah.
It's just a super powerful guy, and they're all like, "How are we gonna beat these guys?" And the next scene is just him punching them in the face.
Self-defense
has no-
rush is my favorite
It's
Reagan
so
special move.
funny.
Where he just yells, "This is self-defense."
Yeah, so he doesn't get sued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple things. Did you reread the manga at all, Cody?
No, I just rewatched the anime.
Because there are a couple things that they did a little different, mainly in like the way they decided to arrange the stories. And again, I just thought it was interesting to bring up because we did talk about in our previous bonus episode, at least, just how they take some certain liberties with certain series.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did decide to do was they added there's a bonus chapter at the very end with the biker ghost in the tunnel, which is kind of fitting that we did Dan too, because there's ghosts and tunnels in that as well. But yeah,
and that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's actually another reason for that.
there are a lot of reasons
Because
for that.
there's a spirit they're specifically referencing that Dan also references.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Would you look at that? It's almost like we did this on purpose.
All right.
What? But
Oh.
they fit this this story in the beginning, and they give it
It's
a
the grandma ghost.
well. Everybody, I think, knew.
Well, there's multiple ghosts in that tunnel.
But they gave that biker character a more sweeter ending in the anime than they did in the manga. In the manga, they just kind of like leave it. It's like where Mob go. There is no other main spirit in the back of that tunnel.
Yeah.
It is the biker boss guy. But in the anime, they decided to make a bigger spirit deeper in the tunnel. And then he gets this like moment where him and all his gang get to go to heaven. And I know I was going pretty hard on like series taking their own liberties. But again, for Mob and to open up a first
anime
episode,
just did it better.
it just did it. It because, but I'm trying to figure out why. And I think it's because like you could tell that they were fans of the series that were making the anime.
Yeah, you
they
could
were
feel the
improving
love.
it, not taking liberties.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it was just to build momentum for the first episode because the first episode's like perfect.
And
perfect way to start it off, perfect way to introduce the characters and his powers and all that good stuff. So it's
the
great.
beginning too, just that opening sequence.
Yeah.
Of him in that realm, and he's like,
If you're watching that and you're like, I'm not watching this. Like, I don't know what's wrong with your brain. Then. If you can see that and
something
be
wrong
like,
with you.
I don't care. But I like what that established too is the thing that I love about this series is there's always more to everyone than you assume. Like everyone gets way more depth than you ever assume they'll get.
Yeah.
And like having the first episode end with the ghost being like, I just want to like I don't want to do I just want to be with my friends
And
and
then
I failed them as a leader and just seeing how like everyone has like a reason for doing what they're doing. No one is irredeemable. There's always like you can look at anyone and be like, oh, is that guy just an asshole? No, he's a complex person and situations took him to this level.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about like teaching people how you can be like empathetic towards anyone.
Yeah.
And I thought too, there was, and again, I'm terrible at picking up deeper, meanings in a lot of things most of the time, or at least it takes me a while.
Just fucking say the thing.
I have to pat it. But I thought that the smile cult thing was sort of the perfect setup for what to expect from the series, because it's about like the way I look back on it. It's almost about like people trying to sell you this like false sense of happiness, and you can kind of like, it might be a little bit of a reach, but you can kind of compare it to like social media and how everybody's like, it's all fake, right?
Blending into social norms to make other people more comfortable.
And then that too, yeah, right? From like Mob's point of view, he's always been sort of assumed that he was this like asshole character and made to feel like an outcast just because he didn't emote the same way that everybody else emoted. So, I know someone like that.
It's why I think this Mob might be the coolest person in the world, actually, now that you say it like that.
But I mean, that arc or that those two episodes are perfect.
I like how he was tempted because
Yeah.
it was like, that would be nice if you could just do that.
God, that whole episode where he gets, the lady comes up, oh, your school troubles? Not really. Oh, your family troubles? Not really. Oh, love? How did you know? And she's just saying everything to get him in, and he's just so like, he just doesn't understand anything.
Normally you'd think that he was being sarcastic.
Yeah, no.
But like the fact that he falls for it once she does, so he was just like, no. No.
Yeah.
Yes. Like he was. It wasn't like oh, what are you, a scam artist? He was like, no, that's not it.
He's so wholesome.
He's so
He's the
wholesome.
like most wholesome boy. Protect him,
And
but
it's
he doesn't
because-
need protecting.
It has like this deeper
In a way,
meaning
he
too,
does.
because he's had to suppress his psychic abilities ever since he was rejected by his crush. That he's
Fuck
sort of like
that
not only
hoe.
suppressed his psychic abilities, but he's suppressed his emotions.
Is that why he
Accidentally as well.
suppressed them in the manga?
That's how they describe it in the manga. Having just reread it.
Oh,
recently,
okay.
yeah.
I think the anime goes. He suppresses it for a different reason. In the anime, he pursues things beyond being psychic because his crush is like, I don't care about this.
Well, no, yeah, he definitely does that too. But they
it was
said
because
that
of
like
a fight.
But they say that like his emotions were like collateral damage in him also like choosing because he kind of shut down after he got rejected because he was trying to show off with his powers like look
Yeah.
at this and she was like I don't give
And
a shit.
also, if he gets too stressed or like too much emotions, that's when because psychic abilities in this world are all based off of emotions and how people feel, and like the stronger the emotions, the more power you have. So that's why he's so deadpan, and that's why you see with Ritsu, like he's like, "Are you okay? Like, is everything good?
Yeah.
Are you okay, bro? You good?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I love you.
yeah.
You're the best. I wish
Yeah.
I was more like you."
The anime when he like finally is like, I'm going to let loose, he has so much regret about it because he has a flashback showing what happened the first
Oh
time.
God, that
And why-
scene.
Yeah.
That's when I sent you guys. I was like crying.
The
Okay, I
Oh
was
most-
man, I wish you could save. I wish you did. There's no way you have those videos still, do you?
I think I might.
I almost want
It's for
to.
season 2 though, so it might be a spoiler. Yeah.
Well, I wanted
me
to
just-
insert
Look at
them
you.
and you just crying, sending us these videos of
I
you
was
just crying.
I was literally like, because it was like a thing that I thought that happened, or I was like, no way, no, it didn't happen. And then I was like, oh, I sent another one. I was like, okay, good, it didn't happen. And then I played the episode, and then right when I sent that, it happened, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And I was legitimately crying, tears, real tears.
Oh, we saw.
I
saw
know. That was
all
it.
of them.
yeah.
All the tears. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else. I mean, it does rearrange some things, but I mean, we still, the Body Improvement Club is another aspect
Ooh.
of this show.
I am a complete sucker for jocks who are cool.
Me too.
Yeah,
to be honest-
nice.
Growing up, I never had a problem with jocks. I had a problem with theater kids.
Yeah, we
But
know.
like, I remember
Yikes. Yeah.
hated them.
Sorry.
But I remember like I was in class and like Halo 2 just came out. And, like, did you get Halo 2? And this like huge guy was like, no, I'm not a nerd like you. And I went like, what's wrong? And he went, my parents have been yelling at me a lot. And I was just like, oh, I'm sorry. And like after that, the guy was just like I never had a problem with those people.
The lore of Cody's school days continues. I'm convinced he went to the Looney Tunes Academy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's not a real school.
It's not a
Now,
real
if you
school.
went to theater at my school, I hate you.
And that's genuine.
But if you played like
100%.
football, we got along. It was
Imagine if we all went to high school together.
we wouldn't have gotten along.
Yeah, we
you guys
would've.
were the students and then I was the teachers. That the joke you were gonna make? Is that the joke you were gonna make?
A good one. Good one.
I just have to. That's just my life now. I just have to beat you guys.
Yeah,
for
no,
shitting
that you
on
got
me.
to.
Thought didn't even occur to me.
Yeah,
But
it
that is
didn't
that-
though. That's why it was so funny that you put yourself on that cross.
Yeah, I was thinking like what would we be? I think we were kind of the same.
I thought you were gonna say we're
in high
going
school,
to
yeah.
class and you're not going to class.
Oh yeah, I was never.
If we went
Yeah.
to high
class.
school together, you didn't go to high school.
Yeah,
Yeah, my senior year, I was absent more than I was present.
yeah,
100%,
yeah. So we would have been in class.
Yeah.
I was in the corner.
I was also on the floor, playing some, trading card games too.
Oh,
When I was there, yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Doing magic in the quad.
Magic,
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
the peak of Josh's idea of high
Hell
school.
yeah.
I was kind of the mob of my high school.
Oh, I don't believe that.
In the sense that I, was very, introverted and people only liked me because I could do magic. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So me and Bob have a lot in common.
You
And
do.
now look at that. We're
Yeah.
you're in the opposite situation.
You're
now.
like, look,
Yeah.
I can do cars, and she's like, okay, that's boring now. Walks away.
yeah.
Oh yeah. That 100% happened exactly to me.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget her name either.
Oh no, you forgot her name.
Let's
I
give
said
her.
I'll never forget
Let's
her.
Oh.
give that
a
a shout out. Huh?
Wow.
Her name was Jamie.
Jamie,
Yeah.
what a
A volume 1. Fuck you.
A volume 1. Fuck you to Jamie. I like that.
Me too, I like that a lot.
should be a new one.
Yeah.
A volume 1. Fuck you.
Yeah, we're gonna have a new segment.
A
called
volume 1. Fuck you, and then we
Yeah.
go off a list of everyone who's wronged us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like the idea of the body improvement club. I think that's such a pure heart. I love the way they talk, where they're just like, we don't have time for this. We got to go do squats. It's like we don't do this for violence. We do this to improve our bodies, and they're like so like. They're
And
just,
supportive too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They, like usually mob, like you would see that in like another like form of media where he'd be like, "Can I join the club?" And they'd be like, "No, you're fucking weak." And so they're like, "Oh yeah, you're
They're
gonna
like,
do great
"Absolutely,
things,
yeah."
bro. We're gonna get you ripped." And I was like, "Okay." And even when he's struggling, they're never like, "We're gonna have to kick you out because you can't do it." They're like, "No, go, keep going,
Yeah.
keep going, fight
Or-
on, fight on."
They'll be like, go get him.
Yeah.
All right, you're done, man. And they're like, oh, he must be anemic. They're immediately like understanding of the situation he could be
Yeah.
in, and it's like, there's a lot of factors here, but he passed out. He's done. Go get him help. I love that.
They
And-
don't even kick the other club out.
No,
They
and
sit there.
I love them too. I love that club because it is not even a club. They just don't want to go home and they want a room to do whatever they want. And they even say like, "We're in middle school. Like, when are we going to be able to do this again?" And that shit
Which
hit
is
hard.
a solid point.
Yeah, that shit hit hard.
Yeah,
I was
mean,
like,
even
"Fuck,
rereading
dude."
it, I'm like,
That's
touche.
It's true. They completely understand their situation because when you're in high school, you got a lot of shit to do, and
'Cause
it's just
that's
like, fuck.
You have to be in a club, right?
I guess in Japan, in some schools, maybe.
I don't-
They
know.
kind of had a cheat of like, oh, this is our club, and we're just gonna hang out because it's. I mean, I know like over.
Well, I guess you don't have to because obviously Mob wasn't, but they were
Yeah.
saying that there were a lot of students. Most of the students were in clubs just because it was sort of maybe more socially normal to do
And
that.
clubs, they actually get funding from the school, so they can buy stuff with the club credit. So I think maybe they're doing that too,
Buying
which is
snacks.
awesome. Like I wanted to make an anime club, and no one fucking showed up.
I was vice president of my creative writing club in high school.
That's fun.
I walked into a club and they pushed me out.
Again, dude.
What was it?
It was like it's like someone I knew who became an actor. Like they're in movies. They were like, they
Oh.
told me like, oh, this club is like they're giving free snacks to people who come in. It was like an LGBTQ club.
So
And
you just
I walked in. I
You just
walked
went
in
there for
with
free
him.
You just walked there for snacks.
oh, because he
And-
was gay.
No, that's the thing. It's
You
like
guys
this-
were
Megan,
too
did you not hear? He wanted snacks.
I
You
didn't
guys
see
are
it.
two straight cis men
Well,
walking into the LGBT, maybe just LGBT, not
LGBTQ
plus Q.
or plus QS.
who
S.
snacks?
which
For
also, which this club also had straight men, and
for snacks.
well, as members. I didn't even talk to them. They just pushed me out.
Allies.
This is amazing.
So they saw you.
how-
Yeah, she's
this
turning
is
on
an
you.
example of how theater kids are. Look,
you!
look at her immediately going against me on this, and I have to just give every single detail before she's like, okay, oh, you mean you didn't even talk to them? You literally walked in with another person? I guess I can see how maybe that's not okay.
Yeah, she was just ready to pounce. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's classic theater kid right there.
Megan, any rebuttals? Guess not. All right.
Anyway,
We got to go see Chuck Palahniuk in my creative writing class too, the author of Fight Club and Survivor and a bunch of other cool books. So
you know who fights? Mob.
okay, Mob does fight. I was trying to share a little high school experience that I had,
Oh,
but no. Let's talk about
Look
Mob
at-
Psycho.
Theater kids, they hate it. They hate talk.
They just hate talking about anybody
what?
that's
Fuck
not them.
you guys so much.
But I love this drawing too that you drew here of Mob, Megan. Really
Thank
killing
you.
it with the notes lately.
Thanks.
We got to upload some pictures of your notes because, again, after seeing the Body Improvement Club, after meeting Dimple, I mean, and after that heartbreaking brotherly moment,
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of like the first season is when we start meeting the rest of the Espers and their organization.
Espers.
Yeah, but I'm okay. I'm a sucker for also when a shonen or any kind of series does this, where they just like, I'm a sucker for like organizations and like members that like, Undead Unluck did it. Hunter x Hunter did it at the very end when they show you all the Hunter Council. Like, I'm a
It
sucker
just
for
adds-
councils, dude.
It adds to the world, and it's just like, oh, these are people that are trying to do that, and that really put it all together for me towards the end of season 1, because it was like, oh, okay, of course we're just seeing Mob go day to day, do these little side hustle jobs with Reagan, but there's like a bigger thing. It's not just him that's an Esper. There's a whole people that are trying to take over the world type of shit. So
I guess we should just say I don't think we talked about the plot or the intro of this character.
Well, I mean, you know, if anybody is watching and listening, hopefully you've seen Mob Psycho or read Mob Psycho, and if you haven't, I mean, I still kind of don't think we've gave like a lot away.
no,
Well, yeah, but like the premise of the.
I mean, I think people know, but
the
it's
premise
just,
of the show. You mean like the
it's
synopsis?
a little late to get into it in the middle of the episode, but it's about Mob who just has psychic abilities. I mean,
A psychic middle schooler tries to live a normal life and keep his growing powers under control, even
So
though he
weird.
constantly gets into trouble
Constantly gets into trouble.
with his psychic mentor.
that
who
was a
has
weird
no
place to
powers.
pause, yeah.
He continues to realize his purpose in life.
Yeah, a little late for a synopsis, but you know, hey, now
Way to
you
throw it
know.
out there.
Yeah, now you
We
know.
didn't talk about the story.
Oh, now we can talk about the story. Cody's all over the place today. I apologize on his behalf.
Yeah, it's just non-theater kids, I guess.
And the council becomes like no, and there's you know, reliving it. There's so many other parts too. There's the like mystery men group of kids that have the blockhead kid and the
two
twins
twins.
and all these kids who have like little to no abilities that are also just, you know, used for comedic effect most of the time, but then actually come back and play a part. I mean,
It is a thing like, oh, they can only make fire come out of their hands a little bit, but that's only because like you have Mob as a comparison. But it's like
Yeah.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
but the more I go down the list, the more I'm like, oh yeah, there's that character and that character and that character and that character. Like, there's so many characters that the series introduces, and to give them all like a little bit of backstory or a little bit of heart or a little bit of character, like it's kind of amazing that in like 12 episodes they were able to.
Yeah, that's
do
another
that?
thing too. It's like such a short amount of time to feel for these characters. Usually it's like 25 episodes is like standard. So 12 episodes, I was like, you guys did it. You
Yeah.
guys fucking.
Yeah, I mean they nailed it. And again, like at the very end of the episode, I do want to talk about kind of what we were starting to talk about a little bit before we hit record, and it's because of like, you know, the deal that I made with a friend of mine to watch. My trade was going to be Invincible. I was going to watch Invincible because he wanted me to finish it, and he was going to watch Mob because I wanted him to finish it. And just kind of
And how apparently you will fulfill that deal sometimes.
my deadline for the deal that I made with you isn't even close to being up, buddy. So just you wait. But I do want to get to that at the end because like everybody was making such a big deal about Invincible, and just like having the two to compare, and they're completely different, but going back and forth, there is no comparison.
Yeah,
First
I mean,
of all,
Invincible, the end of the first episode is like, oh, that was cool, but like you did spend the 90% of it being a generic story.
yeah, and so, like you were saying too, like it's getting all this praise. And by the way, I do like it. I'm not in love with it.
Mhm.
I was kind
It
of
was
in love with it.
nice.
It was nice, but it's getting all this praise for being like edgy and gory. But Cody made a great point. It's like the DC animated movies have been doing that. So why are we just like getting all, you know, excited
Because
about
it's
it?
new.
It's new, sure, but like they've been doing that. And like in anime, they've been doing that. And again, like I went back because I was like, I recommended this series to him. Like I should probably, you know, make sure it was a solid recommendation
Mhm.
because it had been so long. And I was like, in that opening, I was like blown away. I was like you said, you'd have to be out of your freaking mind to not.
Like the
Love this
Invincible
series.
version of it would be to open up with him being a normal middle school student who's like, oh, I don't really do anything. I'm bored and I want friends. And
Yeah.
oh, if only a grand change would happen, and then it does. And then at the very end, you get that intro scene. You'd be like, wow, what an amazing episode that was. But like, it doesn't start off being generic or boring. It doesn't like to set up the punchline of like, well, at the end, wait till it.
Yeah.
And it's also like safe in a lot of ways too, like as far as like style. Like what Mob does is it's like very stylized. And if you look at the backgrounds in the anime, you can tell in some like stills of the city specifically, it's like watercolors, and you can even see like colored pencil textures on some of the buildings. There's those super close-up shots of like Reagan, and it looks like a classical graphic or graphite sort of like pencil drawing where just the mouth is moving.
Yeah.
And they'll use those for like comedic effect. I mean, it's always like the facial expressions, everything. It's always switching its style. Meanwhile, yeah, Invincible has like a couple cool scenes, but like meanwhile it's just Mark freaking, keyframed up and down on a background panel to show that he's like flying, and it's just like
it was like this would be amazing if I've never seen a character fly before, I guess.
yeah.
But he's like, "Whoa, I'm flying! Oh, watch out!" I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen all this."
Mob is so good because it's just like a funky like type of art style, like not funky, but it has fun. Like it doesn't take itself too seriously, but when it does have those serious moments and like the fighting or the dramatic moments, it's like, oh, it hits so hard, and it's just everything. It's one of my favorites. Honestly, it's up there on the list.
It covers appropriate for the character. It covers all aspects of emotion and the human experience, and every time it does, it always does it extremely well.
Yeah.
Would you say it's top 5 now, Megan?
I
Because it's
don't
Cody's
know.
favorite anime.
I don't know. Clannad is definitely number 1. That's not moving anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to put it. We should make like a top 5 lift.
We should, yeah.
Because
the lifts that Megan wears.
Oh, wow.
You mean on my shoes? Is that a short joke?
Yeah, what else would it?
I don't know why my mind went somewhere else.
I
What else?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
That doesn't mean anything else. Why are you blushing? That doesn't mean anything.
This is a lipstick.
Your face is so red.
I mean, these are my cheeks.
you said a lipstick?
No.
Anyway, I don't know. This is I completely fell in love with it, like wholeheartedly. Oh, I love the contrast between Reagan and himself, where he's just deadpan, and Reagan's this like charismatic type of person.
Why do you think it took you so long to get around to it?
I don't know. It's this one thing with the series too, and they have so much hype, and especially with like I'm not super big into like huge shonen type anime, like with a bunch of action and stuff. Like Hunter x Hunter was like the main one that I've really seen. Like I've never really seen. I'm gonna drop a bomb here. I never really seen Bleach. I've never really seen Naruto.
Disrespectful.
I've never really seen Full Metal.
Disrespectful.
I've
saw
never
Brotherhood.
seen.
Brotherhood's fantastic.
I haven't seen any of it. I haven't seen. Just like the list goes on for shonen for me that I just have.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna list
seen.
everything you haven't seen, this is gonna take a while. I mean, that's
just like shonen series that everybody's so excited about.
Yeah, I've
But
seen over like 300 anime, and these are the staples, and I have not seen them. And this was one of them.
You saw One Punch Man though, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because that was a little different. Because it was like a little funny guy with a bald guy.
Yeah, but isn't Mob so much better?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not even a question for me. People want to, argue, but it's not. There's no way. There's no comparison.
At all.
No.
At all.
It's not. I mean, One Punch Man is mostly comedy, and then it can get emotional a little bit. But then, like, Mob Psycho is emotional, and it's very funny, and it is extremely emotional. It's everything.
And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Look, I think One Punch Man was great, but after season 1, the joke was old.
It was like One Punch Man. If they took out the Moomin Rider scene, wouldn't have been good. Like, I wouldn't have cared.
And on top of the animation studio and them switching and the quality going way down, it's like I really don't care for Genos that much. Like I really don't. Not like I care for Ritsu or Dimple or Reagan.
No.
Like,
Even Dimple, the person that was like the enemy and then is still kind of like an enemy, but towards the end you're like, this guy's fucking awesome. Like they all have their moments, which is so important for an anime to do because sometimes they just get brushed aside. Like Genos, you saw his story and it's funny that he's so attached to his master and it's all cool, but like he can't compare to Reagan and his Shisho, man.
All.
That's his Shisho.
Reagan too is like, he's like a spiritual con man, but the way he cons people is by giving them either life advice or giving them back massages.
So he helps them.
So it's like and he also isn't aware that paranormal things are even real. So in his mind, he's doing the opposite of conning people who normally would go to a con person.
Yes.
Well,
because he's like, I need to exercise the demons in your back muscles, and it's like, I mean, that probably helped them more than a fake psychic would.
And he's really good at giving massages too. But when he's photoshopping,
You said it like that.
but he is conning people when he's
that
photoshopping people out of pictures. I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
That
con.
scene when he gets like he's done with like the massage, I was like, Okay, Reagan.
Oh.
He like wipes the sweat. I'll show you the scene later.
But like
It's a good one.
the biggest con is like, oh, I need to photo exercise this thing, and he like just photoshops the ghost being out of the picture. But then it's like they do feel better after that.
Yeah. Like
he
everyone
doesn't
helps.
have many people coming back like, oh, that photo, the ghost in the photo is back.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, he's making people feel better, but I mean, that's...
I just like it. Like, he is ripping people off and, like, scamming them, but, like, at heart, he's doing, like, better things than if he was being a normal con man.
Yeah, and he doesn't really charge all that much.
I mean, I feel like he does.
It was like $30 for that massage.
He charges a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
for
I feel like he charges
massages,
a
like, for full-on psychic things, he
Oh,
charges a lot.
yeah.
But, like, I mean...
But then he
also
does
get results. So,
I mean, yeah.
And then he also will just like, oh, you don't have money, and he just got traded for things that he would want. Like he just like, oh, you don't have money, okay, then I'll just take what you can give me, which is like awesome. And he's just like, I'll still do it.
I mean, he's a con man. Let's not.
He's a con man,
but he's a good con man.
But
he's good at it. Sure, yeah.
People leave feeling better.
Sometimes,
unless he like directly insults them. But like, but
Which
also
he does a lot.
when you see him do that, the end result is he does get rid of a ghost.
Yeah, and to him not knowing about psychic abilities even at all, I think they play that better in the manga too, because in the manga, especially in the first couple chapters when he's going to that building, his internal monologue, which is something you can do in anime, but I think it's just better in manga. His internal monologue is like, oh shit, I didn't know anything about that. Like the table salt thing, there's so many things that I just think the dialogue worked better in that medium than it did in the anime. Because in the anime he came across like really cocky, and in the manga he came across like he was really like always about to get figured out and was kind of nervous about it. But in the anime, he's like, I could talk my way out of it.
Yeah, he can. It's so funny. He totally can. Yeah. It's such a funny character.
Because he explained, too, the reason better in the manga that, like, the reason he thought he got the buildings mixed up. In the anime, he said, like, oh, it's because that building has, some spiritual energy, too. Or
there's spiritual energy over everywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard for me to pinpoint.
But in the manga, he said, like, it's because you got to think of spiritual energy like a flame.
Yeah.
Like, and so if that building was on fire, then the building next to it would be hot, too. So it's like, oh, shit, that makes a lot of sense. Like, he was, like, conning me. I was like, oh, damn. Yeah. And that's what he was, like, when he had that other interaction with the guy who was, like, coming there because he thought he had a curse on him. A lot of the reasons he's given in the manga as to why, and he had that moment too where he's like having to keep guessing, kind of like Mob had with the Smile cult member. But Reagan's giving like really good arguments as to like why, because he's also saying like, I'm not a psychic, I'm just trying to figure out why you're cursed, because he kept going like, it's because you're poor and your wife left you because you're poor. And he's like, no, I actually just won the lottery and I just bought my wife a trip. That's why she's gone, because she's, halfway across the world. And he's like, oh, it's because, someone at work did it. He goes, I don't work. Like I said, I won the lottery. I quit my job. And he's like, oh, people passing you by on the street probably did it. And he's like, I've stayed at home. I get food delivered. I don't go out. And, but it's because he's telling him every time, he's like, look, I'm not a psychic. I'm just trying to figure it out, especially when he comes to the conclusion that it was a porn demon that
the
did
one-click curse.
The one-click curse. He's like, curses.
Oh, I have to exercise your computer?
Yeah, he's like, curses just like, everything has gone digital now, and it's just like, I'm feeling myself like, I believe that.
Yeah.
Doesn't he like just do antivirus and he deletes the...
I mean, yeah. I mean...
But that's what I like, is like, I mean, he did fix the guy's computer.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't lie and not help. He just pretends that he's doing ghost stuff. When all that build up for he deleted a virus on your computer.
Yeah.
But like he didn't not do that.
Yeah.
And
he gave the guy a massage.
And
too.
he gives that guy a makeover because he's like,
that was hilarious.
No girls are wanting to date me, and he's like, oh. Yeah, I can handle that. And then he cuts his hair and makes him nice, and he's all handsome now.
As he's explaining it, he's like, demonic spirits collect in, nose hairs or something.
Yeah.
There's a reason for everything, and he's good at what he does. But yeah, he straight up gave that dude a makeover.
So funny. And I like that part in the live action. It was really well done because he's like, now girls, you won't even have to try it. And he's like this handsome man now. It's
and like
amazing.
the actor in the live action, the way he's going, like he's moving like how the animation is like very like blurred and like with the motion.
So
like,
you liked the live action?
Reagan is the highlight of the live action. I think that actor did a great job trying to do the live action version of what the animated thing did. Like, I mean, the way he moves and the way he yells and the way he's like he's so into it, like it was really good.
The only thing I guess I could compare it to in that they did the best they could, but it was hard, is the Psyche K live action. Because it's also comedy. It's
the
also
Psyche
like
K is a little
outrageous.
better though, for me personally.
Yeah.
Just so because it's more like, because I you have these like characters that look a certain way, and then like, okay, now they don't really look that way. And Psyche K, they completely thank you for giving Kaido white hair and not black hair, and giving Nendo the chin. Like, they didn't have to do that because usually they don't.
Yeah.
Just like Attack on Titan.
I mean, that was a
What?
completely different
Every
thing.
time you guys bang your fist on the table, it causes my microphone to just go a little bit towards.
Every
Oh.
time you guys? Or every time?
I have psychic power.
Yeah. Sorry if you're listening. That's probably terrible in your ears.
Oh,
I'm just apologizing on your behalf.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all. That's all, you freaking theater kid. Megan.
But yeah, Mob.
I'm turning red, and it's not the lipstick.
Yeah, Mob works for Reagan, and Reagan is his psychic mentor.
Yeah, but I think, and I've only seen, again, the trailer for the live action, but I think they, like you said, they did the best they could, but, obviously they're just going to fall short. There's no way to adapt it, although you said the dimple CGI was pretty good too, right?
I mean, I don't really care about bad CGI all that much, but
Yeah. Do you, Megan?
no.
but also it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, if it's a ghost, it doesn't have to look that. But like, yeah, like it's not like they like half-assed it. I mean, he looks like they gave him all the muscles and all the like the full body thing, and it's like, I don't know if it would be hard to portray Mob because he is like a emotionless person.
Yeah,
But it's like, I mean, the guy doing that wasn't doing a bad job either.
that's
Like,
where it got weird for me, because in the live action, Mob is he's much more theatrical. He's much more emotion showing. He's not just like, oh, sorry, I didn't,
Right.
like, straight face, where they could have definitely gone that route. But he's like smiling. He's like, he's like going around the corner to like stalk Subumi-chan, and like he's
Oh.
like, I liked how you smiled today.
yeah.
And I'm just like, that is not Mob. Like, that is not Mob.
Yeah.
the live action it's the Reagan show.
The Reagan show.
You get
I mean, he gets his own spin-off.
you get
too.
a background for how he ended up at like what his last job was and like how he ended up being there. Which
Yeah.
the anime so far is not. They imply it, but like they haven't shown like what he did before that.
They just kind of show him in a.
in his little studio apartment or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
He got a really nice. I mean, could I just give the spoiler for the live action?
Oh
Reagan?
yeah, dude! For the live
No.
action, for the live
Because
action,
it's in the second season. It's in the second season a little bit.
Well, just the feel of it, not like the story. Just like the emotional feel.
Okay.
So here we go.
if you're really planning on seeing that Mob Psycho live action movie, then you might want to pause.
Turn
but
your
otherwise,
ears off.
take
I'll
it
hold
away.
my hand up until I stop doing the spoiler. That's actually not. We can do that now.
Oh yeah,
we'll
with
do,
video,
we'll
you
do that
can do
system.
that,
Yeah. And then for sound, Josh just do a beeping, just do like a screech, and then once I stop,
I'll do well, we got Megan's spoiler noise, but okay.
okay,
There we
sure.
go. All right, sure.
Reagan worked at an office, and like it was one of those like they were doing a group project, and like their boss is yelling at them, they're all going to get fired. His coworkers blame it all on him, and he didn't want to take them down with him, even though they were throwing him under the bus. So he took all the blame, and he got fired, and that's how he ended up.
Aww.
And like that's why like he would just spend his time at the bar, and he would see his coworkers ended up getting promoted, and it was a really nice moment. I'm not that good at retelling things, but yeah, like that you see that like because he's having a moment like, why am I even doing this? And he's like really confused about what kind of person he is, and he remembers all that. They show him like dye his hair blonde because he's like, I'm not gonna be that guy. It was like he used to. It It was nice.
That's really cool, actually, and that's because that's not in season 2.
No, they just
extent.
not to that extent.
Just in the sense that there is like a more emotional depth to Reagan you get to see. I really liked him like having a thing of like because he's never not inherently a good person.
Yeah.
So it is like how does he end up becoming a scam artist? He had nowhere else to go to. He got fired for incompetence because he refused to throw his friends who threw him under the bus with him.
Yeah.
So
he's a con man with a heart, you know, with a conscience.
There was parts where I was like,
mansions.
oh,
A con mansions.
good one. There was parts where I was like, okay, Reagan, chill out. Mob is doing all the fucking work for you. And I was a little mad at Reagan at some point.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, bro. Like, and then like their little tiff and just the shit that he said, I was like, and him even saying like, don't join this. Like, he's just kind of like being selfish because he wants Mob to help him out.
Yeah.
And then we see in season 2 how
Which
it
you're
plays
not gonna
out.
talk about,
I'm not going to talk about, but it's just it's so nice to see that like redeemed and
Yeah.
to know what goes on and like how they move on from that, because it easily could have just been like, oh, this is the case, okay, bye, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, how about this? Mob Psycho seasoning 1.
What?
Because it's like Salt Middle School, everything's like
It's called like Season City.
Seasoning City, like Season Station. They all have like seasoning names.
Yeah.
They go to Salt Middle School,
Salt
and then like the other people go to like
School.
Black Pepper Middle School.
Black Pepper Middle
Yeah,
School.
yeah. It sounds bad.
Salt
I mean, you just got explained why it makes
Salt
sense.
Middle School.
No, it can make sense, but still be bad.
The city's literally called Season City,
Okay.
so seasoning 1.
It doesn't get any better. But no, Megan, put the salt down. Put the salt down. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if any of that is enough to get me to watch the live action, but I am gonna,
It's kind of
watch
like
season
look,
2 again.
the Venom movie's not great, but I watched that a lot too, just because I just like the source material enough to.
Yeah, that's the boat I was in, because I was like, more,
Yeah.
but then I was like, I'll probably still watch it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
like we said, we're not going to talk too much about season 2 either, but it's equally as good, if not better. And so, again, re-watching this anime, I mean, it reminded me of how truly amazing this series is, from story to animation to characters to everything. I mean, if there's anybody who is at all watching, who has never seen it, read it, anything, like, what are you doing? Read it, watch it. I would, it's one of the few series that I would say, like, watch instead of read.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times, especially recently with a lot of the series that we've been reviewing, that the manga is just way better than the anime in a lot of ways. But with this, I have to say, like, you could tell they were fans of the source material. They did a good job. They cared for what they were adapting, and it shows. And it's, again, one of the few cases where I'll say watch it, because I promise you will be blown away. And I think it's also because of the simplicity of the characters. Like, if you look at something like Dorohedoro or Attack on Titan, like, I understand why they end up going with, like, CG models, even though sometimes it doesn't look great, but it's because of the, like, intricacies of the designs. Like, Kaiman with all of his spikes and his leather jacket and his studs and boots and, everything like that. It's hard to draw.
We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, not however many times it takes for him to move 2 frames,
Yeah.
It's like 500 drawings, So,
Yeah.
but with the simplicity of this art style, they're able to, like, focus less on the details of all their costumes or wardrobe, and to just focus on the movement. So there's a lot of, like, dynamic movement, facial expressions, like the camera. I mean, they just, like, it makes me wish that, like, anime sometimes would give more priority to the animation over, like, having, like, these beautiful characters. Because, yeah, you can have both, but that's, like, triple the work, Like, if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose between, like, dynamic animation all day long. But yeah, I mean, if this is like a love letter, it's turning into a love letter for this series, because it's amazing.
Touch up on that brother scene, since that was like the highlight of it
Oh,
for you.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just it's in that alley when they're fighting that Esper, the first Esper that they come across,
Which what I liked about that is Mob legitimately just gets beat up.
Mhm.
It quickly becomes a grown man punching a child.
And what I found out about that scene too, back to the animation, is it was directed by, like, a famous animator who has worked on a bunch of huge series. One of his like most, I think, iconic scenes is, I know you haven't seen Full Metal, but you know the scene of Mustang when he's like setting Envy on fire over and over and over, and he's just like full of all this rage and anger. Like he animated that scene. Like he's known for animating very just like emotionally aggressive fight scenes. And in that scene, yeah, you get to see Mob get the shit kicked out of him, dude.
Where like even like goons were like, all right, he's had enough, man.
Yeah, you're gonna kill him.
Well,
Yeah.
it's at some point uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I always love that whenever like even like the background thugs are like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, just like they don't want to kill a kid.
No. I mean, and his brother Ritsu shows up, and he also discovers that he has this like Esper, the psychic ability.
Which I thought was gonna be like, I was gonna be like, okay, like roll my eyes at that, but it turned out to not be a problem for me at all because of just how he like developed them and how he like honed them with like his emotions and what he was going through at the time. I was like, okay, they didn't just be like, oh, you have powers now, that's it. It was like, oh no, this is why he got them, because he's doing things that he's not supposed to and he feels horrible about it.
Yeah, it's like interesting to see a sibling rivalry that comes from like wanting, like he's jealous of Mob in a lot of ways, but still loves him. It's still his brother. Like,
And
he
it's-
doesn't hate him. He
And
just,
it's vice versa too, where they're both envious of each other.
Yes.
And then
But it was the thing where like, the brother is jealous of Mob because he has psychic powers, and Mob is jealous of him of his brother because he has good grades, he's popular in school, and then his brother gets psychic powers. But it's like, well, the Mob doesn't get that. He doesn't get that. So it's like, oh, his brother is just like the happiest guy in the world right now.
at
Like,
the end. Yeah, but when he first gets the powers, it turns him into kind of a dick for a little bit.
Yeah.
which shows you that like Mob isn't like, as much as he is like a nobody, he's not the every person who would get powers.
Well, I think what it shows too beautifully is that like most people would react that way.
Yeah.
Because it's easier said than done that if you did have all these abilities, all of a sudden, like you'd probably be a dick. Like it takes a very special person to not let that inflate their ego, to just kind of
or inflate their hair.
or inflate their hair. Yeah, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in anything.
Oh,
ever. My
fuck.
favorite joke. You have it drawn on your notes too, and it makes me smile.
Yeah, let me see if
Um,
you can see it.
They
It's-
never show up on camera.
I mean,
highlight?
It's one of my absolute, let me see if I can hold it up here. It's one of my favorite, it probably won't, but it's one of my favorite jokes I've ever seen, ever. It makes me laugh every time it's just so absurd and ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
love it. But
But it was that was also another fight that got like uncomfortably.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was scared. I was like, no. Oh my god, no. I was like, stop. And it was so like, I love when they have a character that's just like, he knows he's strong. He doesn't want to fight back because he knows that it'll just fuck up everything. So he's just going to take the high ground and not. And he's like, why won't you fight me? Like, show me your powers, blah, blah. And he's like, no.
The anime did a thing that I like where he like picks up a bunch of knives to throw at Mob, and the anime just gives him a little narration about I don't want to kill him.
Yeah.
I'm just doing this to like get him to fight back. So
Yeah.
it was because I was like, whoa, and he's like, he was like innocent, like, no, don't worry, I'm not being serious.
He's like, stop. He's like, someone's gonna get hurt. And then it just cuts to his fucking hair, just
Yeah.
completely cut. And he's just like, you fucker, you fucker. And that
mean-
really sets him off.
yeah, it was the perfect way to illustrate, like, you're taking this guy's like status away from him. And, you know, a lot of people and their confidence or whatever is tied to their looks. And when you're like, you have a freaking bald spot in the middle of your head, all of a sudden, it's hard to be the big man on campus when you're walking around looking like George Costanza.
That's going back to the first fight that is in the anime.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like, you just see a guy get like broken down on like every like level that like gives him all this like ego. Like
And
he
then-
loses his appearance, he finds out he's not that powerful.
Yeah.
Ego death.
Yeah.
He had an
Yes.
ego death for sure. And then it wasn't just like this character that's brought back and being like, my main goal is to defeat Mob. He's like, no, I learned from my experience and I'm going to be a better person
He's like,
now.
I'm sorry, I know, I've learned.
Yeah,
Which
you
I love is
learned.
there's no like fake
I know.
moral switches. It's always people being like,
Yeah.
that was on me.
Even with the group at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
We see them kind of come around to Reagan.
Which
in the
I
very end.
loved. Oh god, it's we can't gush more about this series because it's
Yeah.
just every
Let's finish that brother scene, and then we'll talk about that arc.
Yeah.
At the end of the season.
I mean, he just kind of comes in and defends his brother, and but it's like it's done in a way where, and again, I don't know if it hit me so hard because of the relationship and just like everything me and my brother have been through, because I have a very, very sad story that's tied to anime. I won't tell it now, but it's just like it's moments like that like really I connect with, and so when I see like him standing up for his brother, and I see just like the admiration that they both kind of have for each other, but they also like, the jealousy, but it comes from a place of love and the admiration, like I said, and everything, like it just, and he goes to bat for Mob, and Mob's just laying there, like it just warms my heart. It just warms my heart, and it makes me emotional, even just like thinking about
what
it.
made that scene more like impactful for me was like before that, his brother like just full on like hits him with every insult he can.
Yeah.
Tells him like I've always been afraid of you. I never actually every time I've been nice to you, it's because I've been afraid of you. Now I don't have to be afraid of you anymore. Which means I don't have to be nice to you anymore.
Yeah,
I never meant any of that. And his Mob's just like, you don't mean that. Which it was like, yeah, you'll say awful things to your siblings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
just like in people that you want to like. He feels horrible for the stuff that he's done so far, and like who he's been hurting at school, and he just comes to see Mob, and he's just jealous of Mob and how good he is. He's just like trying to push him away, and Mob's like, no, like we're brothers, like I would never not care for you anymore. And I was like, oh,
it is like you always want what you can't have, but at the end, you're right, Cody, like he gets what he wants, and he gets his cake and gets to eat it too. You know?
Does he even receive comeuppance for
his,
sabotaging the Demon Rush guy, who I liked him too.
I
There's
mean,
no character I didn't like. That's the thing.
yeah, I know. Even the panel of Espers too. Like, I loved all of them. I thought every single one of them was so cool, man. And but yeah, I never thought of it that way until you said it. But it's like, damn. I mean, his life got a little inconvenient. Ritsu's life got a little inconvenient, but then like it got super dope. So like, what was his sort of like? His arc was like coming to terms with these powers that he has in his relationship
Learning
with
to
Mob,
not
but
be that big of a dick with him, but yeah, he doesn't really.
he really came out like on the other end. He made out pretty sweet.
He's kind of the standard protagonist in a story.
Yeah,
He's like, everyone loves me, and I wish. Oh, if only I could have powers. Anyway, I got powers.
Took me a couple episodes to figure him out, and I was a dick for a few of them, but now
I've changed my ways.
I've changed my ways, and I'm better.
Yeah, that's most stories about stuff like that. That's the classic shonen protagonist. Is his brother.
Yeah.
And even like the Esper girl that's like in the group, she has like a crush on him, and the other two guys are like, "That's not fair. That's not fucking fair. God damn it."
Yeah.
It's so funny, and everyone's so delightful.
Yeah, they and they're pretty standard villains, I guess, all things considered, until the very end is when they get more complex. And their typical evil plan is to just take over the world because they think that they're better than everybody because they have these
like Mensa.
gifts. Like what?
Mensa.
Sure, like Mensa. Yeah.
What's Mensa?
Mensa is an organization that I don't really know of.
That's exactly what I thought that
I thought you were
was
gonna
like.
But
explain
If I
it.
just act like a dick, no one will know.
No,
I'm
but
just
I know
dumb.
No. I know what Mensa is. I just don't know what Mensa is. But I've heard it so many times. I just don't know what it. I can't remember.
You can just say who's Mensa. You don't have to be like, yeah.
I will
You don't have to
not.
be like, yeah, Mensa.
I'm
Anyway,
not budging.
please to God, nobody ask me for a follow-up question.
No, okay, I'll tell you what Mensa is. Mensa? I don't know. I don't know.
It's just a high IQ club that,
Oh, I was thinking of something completely different.
I think I know what you were thinking.
I think you think I know. Anyway, Megan.
Does it start with
I think we're thinking of the same club, and it's about
Hydra?
not Hydra.
it's
Isn't
boys
it?
and
Yes.
Okay, we're thinking of another group that
We're
ends
thinking
in
of
A.
Yeah. But anyway, we're not talking about that club. We'll tell you off mic, Megan, and there's a few people who probably know.
But it is like, I genuinely don't think we should talk about that.
Yeah, it's just not a good look to be talking about.
Anyway.
But yeah,
yeah.
they're a group that thinks they deserve to be in power because they're powerful.
Yeah. But
That clearly they've been blessed.
The scars.
And thus, yes.
And they're all cool too. Classic cool character designs, cool powers. Everyone kind of has different shit. And usually, like with One Punch Man, you see a character that's super strong and can just do things very easily. And so you would think it would get old, but it just doesn't with Mob. Because it's a good mix of him like getting the shit beat out of him and then also beating the shit out of people.
That's the great thing is he doesn't like immediately win every fight. Like, because it is like, he is the most powerful. He's still a child. He isn't that like trained. So there will be like, well, this person isn't as powerful, but they do have more training and technique. So there is a little bit more back and forth in these fights.
Yeah, and they're like not natural espers, right?
No, they are.
They are? Oh, I thought they were not the ones with natural. Oh, that comes down later. But shut the fuck up. There's other people. It's the the kids. They're not naturals, right?
They are, but they just have their abilities they're natural. They just have.
They're not that strong.
Yeah. Oh, I like that guy too, the leader of that organization. He's like, I'm just rich and want to have
all
powers eventually.
I want to,
he just says it out.
The Awakening Club. I want to awaken psychic powers in people.
Yeah.
And he just says it outright. He's like, I don't have time for anything. I just spend my money on this. And they're like, okay.
And like I said, those guys in the Esper organization, the villains, they don't get a lot of depth until the very end. And then Reagan makes this like the most sound argument that I've ever heard in any medium ever.
I love whenever the team normal person has their moment to shine in any situation. And I thought they were going to do a thing where it's like, I was like, oh my God, is Reagan like is
he awakening?
Is he? Yeah. I thought it was he was immune to psychic and paranormal phenomenon. So like he can't see them and they can't affect him. And I thought like, he's like anti-paranormal.
Right.
I thought that was going to be the reveal.
Right.
Where it's like the reason he's like, no, I can't see anything is like it doesn't affect him.
And again, he just straight up is looking for Mob. He's like, where the fuck is this kid? And he just walks up to the fucking organization. All the guards are like scared shitless because everyone's getting the shit beat out of them inside. And he's like, I need to go inside. My students are there. Huh? What? Who are you? What do you mean? And he's like in a suit and he's just like talking his way. He doesn't even really know what's going on either. Yeah. But they just like, oh, thank you, boss. You're the greatest boss. It's so hilarious.
They heard a rumor that the boss was coming in.
Yeah.
And then Reagan's like, I'm here for my student. And they're like, he's your student? He's like, yeah.
And they're like, come right this way, boss. Let him in. And he's just going through everyone. He's like, you guys locked these kids in here? They're like, we were just forced to. And he's like, okay, you guys are wimps, but whatever.
You just do whatever people tell you to. And they're like,
well, that's like,
because they're like, you told us to. It's like, so if I told you to do anything, you would do it. You gotta think for yourself. And they're like,
he is like the perfect, like, we've all met people that like just kind of like spout these like quote of the day kind of quotes, or you know what I mean, they carry themselves with like this air of confidence, and it's just like they're always like going around trying to teach people things, and it's like you don't know shit, you know.
I've had multiple people just come up to me and just like
you gotta smile more, you gotta
I love that one.
Yeah,
I love the guy for like I was just like waiting for someone at a coffee shop, and the guy was just like, well, you don't need a flashy car. I'm like, I don't have one. He's like, well, you don't need to worry about rims or anything. I don't. And then like that just went on, and like it got to the end. He's like, you got to make sure you drink. At the time, I didn't do any drugs at that time.
Yeah.
And he was like, and it just revealed that he like would just beat his wife when he was drunk, and he's gone through a journey.
That's what people always end up like. They're kind of projecting a little bit.
Yeah.
They're like, you gotta dress for the job you want. You can't walk around wearing that, you know. And it's like,
I already have a job.
I already have a job.
But yeah, and then it just boils down to him being like, "Well, I beat my wife, but like I'm past." I'm like, "Okay, good for you, man."
Okay, bye.
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, Reagan has this quality about him too that like he goes around and he's convincing everybody that their lives are like a lie and that he has all the answers, and it's like the same sort of like. I mean, obviously Reagan's way more charming than those people, but it's this sort of like. Is it a false confidence or is it like a genuine confidence that he's just kind of like flying by the seat of his pants and just like kind of making it up as he goes along?
And it's the thing where it's like he's not wrong in the points he's making.
No.
He just doesn't realize the severity of the situation or like the fact that like, oh, they think he's someone else he is just like, you shouldn't just lock kids up in cages because someone told you to. It's like, that's a legitimate point. that's not like a classic con man situation.
Yeah.
And he just rises to the occasion, even though he's just a normal guy, even though Mob's doing all the work. He somehow gets Mob out of these situations, these crazy situations that like no one thought anyone could break him out of this room that he can't use his powers in. Yet Reagan just fucking walks up. He's like, okay, Mob, let's go.
Yeah.
We're leaving. And he's like, how? And he's like, oh, it's my shisho. And I'm just like, oh, like he still is such like a good role model for Mob, even though he does nothing in that realm of his life. He just brings him up as a good person.
Even at the end too, when he's telling the guys, he's like, you shouldn't carry around toy swords. You're a grown ass man. And then what he also says to the guy with the shoulder pad specifically is the one that gets me every single time, because he's asking him, he's like, what are those things on your shoulders? And he's like, they're shoulder pads. And then Reagan's like, they protect your shoulders? like just your shoulders? Because they're only there. But it does look cool. It's a cool design.
Yeah.
But then you start thinking about it, you're like, it makes no sense. It has no practical effect. And then he starts saying like, you think you're so much better than everybody that your powers have given you tunnel vision, and you're just so focused on like how cool you are that you haven't bothered to step out of yourself and look at you, And it's just like every time I hear that, I'm like, that is the most amazing point I've ever heard.
I love how they're all just like,
yeah, no one's ever told them this before
because everyone's been afraid of them.
Yeah.
But it is just and then the leader is revealed to essentially just be a big baby.
Yeah, and the leader is just like this whiny old man who's like never, gotten his way. And when Reagan compares his backstory to the guy's backstory, when he's like, I was abandoned as a child and no one ever paid attention to me, and Reagan just takes a beat and he's like, I get it, man. I get it. One time I forgot to tell my mom it was, the day of the festival at school, and she forgot to pack me a lunch. I didn't eat for a whole day. And he's like, that's not the same thing. But he's just like, he doesn't care. He's like, we all go through shit. And he's almost saying like, what you go through isn't worse. You can't justify or say yours is worse than anybody else's. Like, we're all going through shit, man. Like, stop whining about it and just like figure out a way to grow from it.
And the reveal, which watch the anime. I don't know why you would be doing this if you don't really watch the anime. But like the reveal is he was made like he was given all of Mob's like psychic.
Yeah. Well, they were transferred to him in a moment where Mob felt like, because Reagan
gratitude.
Yeah. And Reagan kind of tells him like it's okay to run away.
Yeah,
sometimes.
that scene was great because Reagan was like against violence, even though unless it's in self-defense. But like he was like, you don't have to fight these guys.
Yeah.
It's okay to run away. You're a kid. You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And then like that gets transferred to him. So like so it turns into him just seeing like they're blowing bubbles at me. Like, you just hit me with a toy sword.
It's so funny because even him, like, he doesn't necessarily question it at a lot. At his first start, he just thinks he can do it.
He's
which
like,
is
I'm
hilarious.
an amazing shaper.
Yeah, he's so funny. And all of them are like, holy shit, this guy's the real deal. I thought he wasn't anyone.
Yeah,
and he's just like,
3D imaging or
yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this is stupid. Toy sword again,
Toy sword. I mean, and he does get to a point though where he puts it together pretty quick, I'd say, when he starts throwing people through walls.
Yeah.
he's like, it must be Mob. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. Like, he's still Reagan, and I don't know, man. That
it is a thing of wow. If he had psychic powers, he wouldn't have been a dick with it. It was just nice to see that he's just like, you need to grow up.
I like the tunnel scene too, where he's like, okay, we're gonna go in here. And then he doesn't see Mob behind him, and he runs back. He's like, what the fuck? Like, we're going in.
So
and he's like, oh, I thought you said you could handle it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but I need you. You're my student.
Yeah.
You need to learn from me. And
yeah, he's
like,
always having to justify why he's not the one doing everything.
Yeah, it's so
but
good.
I love that moment too, because like there's nothing more beautiful, especially as a way to like end the first season. Like, there's nothing more beautiful than like someone with all that power, whether it was like a joke or whether it was actually, sort of a metaphor for this in real life. Either way, I love it. Reagan has all this power, and he looks to these people who have like spent their whole lives thinking that they're better than everybody. And he just looks at them and he's like, you're a commoner. Like, you're a nobody.
You're a nobody.
And they say like, no, but we are somebody. And he goes, I'm a commoner. And if I can do all this, then what does that make you? And
he does that.
Yeah. And whether that's for a joke or whatever, I mean, it's just so powerful.
I thought it was like a solid, but I didn't even view it as a joke. I thought that was like the ending to like all their big stuff about like all this power we have. there's someone with more power than you who does not view themselves as better.
Yes.
And if they're, in your mind, objectively better than you, and they're just a nobody.
You guys are garbage.
I mean, that to me is like chef's kiss, perfect, like perfect. It's the best way to like sum up the whole season, the theme of the whole season, the theme of the series so far, and it's done in such a way.
There's nothing wrong with being a commenter.
There's absolutely, and that's the message too.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like
Because everyone's good at something.
yeah, and just because people have in the real world they have money or they have fame or they have whatever, like it doesn't make them better than anybody else. And the people who have those things and don't, to the people that are like walking around like they own everybody and everything, like what does that make them? And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like something that I think a lot of people need to hear.
Mhm.
You know,
It's really good for people, like, because everyone's born with being better than something at everyone else.
yeah.
That's what you'll be worse than someone at at a lot of things. You're better than a lot of people at a lot of things.
And there's, you know, of course, there's like this blurry line too, and I think people maybe get caught up in it, where you know you have to be confident and you have to believe in yourself, especially like if you're trying to make something or do something. But at what point do you cross that line and you start becoming, you know, arrogant? And it's true. I mean, it's like I think.
Oh, I in comedy, you'll see a lot of people.
Oh yeah, especially
The second they get like one up, they'll be like,
But it's almost
Yeah.
because it's a system that fucking breeds that,
Mhm.
dude. I mean, it's because you're constantly shit on at every turn to the point by other people who have achieved in your mind great things. So when you finally get anything, it's just like all these emotions and all this, like it's like payback or they're gonna see now.
yeah,
and-
psychic powers are a really good stand-in for like just talent,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a really good whole thing about how like you see these people. These aren't like these are like fantastical abilities, but like that's a real type of person right there.
Yeah. Theater. Speaking of bringing it back to
This
theater.
is about just a normal everyday guy just trying to beat up a bunch of theater kids. And
Yeah.
there's no greater theme and moral that the world
Hey.
needs than theater kids being taken down.
I'm going to say it. Yeah. The reason why I don't like to do theater is because of the people.
Yeah,
They're
Megan,
the
you're not a theater kid.
actual worst.
You're
And
someone
I-
who took theater class.
Yeah,
right?
No,
you were
but-
in theater, but you're not a theater kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I mean, I easily, I mean, there was people that were upset at me because I got a certain role and they were like, fuck you, like, you know, mad at me. And I'm just like, what the fuck do you want me? What do you mean? Like, I can't, I'm doing me. And I never once was like, oh, I'm better than all of these. Like,
Yeah.
no, because you do what you do. And if you, it's
Yeah.
just the way life works. You just don't be a dick. That's the main message of
Don't be a
Upside.
dick.
Don't be a
Yeah.
fucking dick.
Honestly, yeah, don't be a dick.
And be wholesome and sweet.
And always be wholesome.
And
Mhm.
do lots of squats.
And do lots of squats.
And be wholesome.
Wholesome? Why did you point to Cody? The guy who gets the least amount of action here. What? Be wholesome?
I'd love to disagree with
I
you.
thought it was funny.
I'd love to be like, actually, but no.
Hey, I'm second place, but I'm still way below first place, okay?
I thought. What about swolesome?
Oh, swolesome.
Wholesome is perfect.
I
Look,
can-
I'd love to be wholesome, but it just ain't happening, all right? Oh, man.
Yeah. What I can do is I can go to the gym for no other reason than one, my mental health, which Josh has witnessed what happens when I don't do that. But
It's fucking, yeah.
What do
which
you
is
mean?
which is why this is something I liked about it, because like he's joining for like to. Like the superficial reason is he wants to like look better and impress people, but
Yeah.
it's also like it's something he doesn't do. But yeah, I have to regularly exercise for my mental well-being.
Yeah, he just turned. You know this when Mob hits 100% in the electricity, and he does this like
Mhm.
silhouetted version of him. And
Mhm.
but like imagine all that, but it's just it's just like snarky energy. You know, it's
Mm.
that to 100%.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
saying this doesn't matter a lot.
A
out
lot.
loud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's just like this. Like, I guess that's where like the snarkiness comes in, because you'll be excited to tell him something. He goes, "I don't fucking care. Like, it doesn't matter."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so funny
Yeah.
because I like told you that like a week and like my gym membership expired. It'll be fine. And then within a week, I'm just
Yeah.
like, who gives a shit? We're all gonna die.
Yeah, it's like very
Yikes.
sad.
I thought like no, it's been like years. I have a good control.
See,
over
that's
it.
me when I work out.
Oh yeah, same. I think I get that way.
Yeah, I
when
get
work out.
mad
Yeah.
at myself for making myself better.
Yeah, because it takes too long.
You know what's
too long
funny?
and there's no what? What are you gonna do?
I need instant results.
It's
No.
so like I said
Doesn't
something like maybe excessively sarcastic and just like, have you worked out? And I was like, yeah, but honestly, like barely yesterday. So I was like, I have to maintain a very strict schedule
Yeah.
to be like,
Jock
okay,
over here,
Yeah, he's a jock.
little
He's the jock of Volume
head.
1. Yeah.
yeah,
You're the theater kid that's not a theater kid. He's the jock that's not
not a jock.
yeah.
And you're the
I don't know. I did your guys's. You could do mine.
You're the con man.
Okay.
that's a con man.
That's a con
That's
man.
an actual con.
Yeah.
Well, I think
perfect.
there's no better way to end the episode than by ending it there. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening. Obviously, it goes without saying that we all love Mob Psycho. We all recommend Mob Psycho. You're an insane person if you haven't watched it or read it, and especially if you're reading or if you're listening to this and you haven't watched it or read it. But if you have, it's okay. Just go do it now. And if you've been putting off watching the second season or whatever, like, get to it. It's beautiful. It's amazing across the board. And we could talk about it all freaking day. But we'll end it there. We are going to get to Berserk again. I think that's going to be our next bonus episode that'll be coming out next Saturday. But it was just nice to take a little break, catch up on all that reading, and to talk about something that we all loved, especially because Megan had just seen it for the first time. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here?
Ditto.
Oh, it's a Pokemon.
Everything that Josh said. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing.
I love characters that show, people that are like maybe emotionally stunted but trying their best. So it's a solid character. You don't get to see that often.
Yeah, keyword trying their best, which try a little harder.
Wholesome.
And if you're a Patreon member, we just got to take a moment to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You're what makes doing the stuff that we've been able to do recently possible. You know, the stickers that we made, the shirts that we made, even just like cool stuff that we've been able to make, like for like the cosplay for the Dorohedoro episode, things like that. Like, it's because your support that we can do all of these things. You guys are amazing, and we love each and every single one of you. And even if you're not a Patreon member and you want to become one, you can join by going to patreon.com/volume1pod. And even if you're just part of the algorithm gang and you're watching and supporting out of the goodness of your heart, then
What
we
does
love
the
and
heart look like?
appreciate you too.
No, it's not a heart.
Thank you so much for everything.
It's trying
Yeah, I was trying to squeeze into the heart.
under our
Yeah.
hands.
And thank you so much for watching and listening. The only thing left to do now is to get out of here on our outro that's always the same and never freaking changes, which today, of course, is...
Time for some squats.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'm not going to fight it.
Not going to fight it either.
Fight on, fight on.
Fight on, fight on.
Okay, I like that even better, actually. Yeah.
Both?
Okay.
I like it better than the first one, but I like the first one.
You don't want to do both?
No.
Oh.
Fight on, fight on. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening. And until next time, fight on, fight on, fight on.
Fight on, fight on.